I swear my desk was cleaner earlier, but this is kind of an indication that maybe I have too much stationery. I already know what you're thinking.
The limit does not exist.
But when I have this much clutter consistently on my desk because things don't have homes, then we have a problem. So what I'm going to do is declutter my full stationery stash. We're talking pens, we're talking washi, papers, anything else that I can find in my office, because honestly, I don't even have a very good picture of what I have. The first thing to do though is get everything out so we can actually have a look at it. This is where having a whole heap of desk real estate is very handy, so I did need to make sure to clear everything off the desk so that then I could get everything out and put it back on the desk. In actuality, I didn't end up taking out all of my stationery items just because I filled up this desk and there was still more to go. So items that didn't get included was anything in my set of drawers, in particular my washi tapes, papers, other bits and pieces, and also the majority of stuff in my closet, which is effectively my notebook stash. To be honest, I'm not going to be getting rid of notebooks. Those ones I find way too difficult to get rid of, and getting rid of them wouldn't really spark joy, and that kind of goes against the purpose of this process. In terms of disposing of the goods, we have a couple of options. One is the fuck it bucket, where we can put things that are going to be donated or given to other people. Another option is the bin/recycling, and then we also have the pile of things that can be sold. These are things that are still good quality, still have enough left in them that it's worthwhile trying to sell them. I don't expect that pile to be too big, but it's there if I need it. My general strategy for this though is to go through from effectively easiest to hardest, so picking out the pieces that I know immediately that I don't want to keep anymore, and then getting to things that are a little trickier to declutter, like pens. And that being said, a certain selection of pens are going to be disposed of. When I say disposed of, it does not necessarily mean that I am throwing them away. It could be that they are being donated or gifted or sold, things like that. So don't for a second think that I'm throwing away like $200+ worth of pens. One of the things I know that I am going to be getting rid of are the acrylographs because I just do not use them, and I know if I keep them, I'm gonna just keep collecting them. You can see I already have too many to fit in my little drawers. I tried to put them into the little drawers so I had them in different colorways, like the red drawer and the orange. But then I have all of these guys over here, and then I have even more in this container, and this one is a brand new set that I have not even tested yet. And that was the fall release from this year, so it's been like 6 months and I haven't touched them, which kind of tells you why I don't really need them anymore. So we're gonna take a picture of them, put them onto the marketplace or crafting group or whatever, and see if anybody wants them. Which means that I'm gonna have to count how many there are so I can have an appropriately titled listing, so yay. I feel like the stars might have just aligned because I just went through and counted the pens, 281 of them, and then posted it to the Archer and Olive trade group, and like within 5 minutes, somebody who is based in Wellington said, yes please, I will take them. Such a good coincidence. So we are organizing with her for her to come pick them up. That's very exciting, which means that I'm gonna have all of those little drawer real estate back in my life. So good. I even have this nice box that I can put it in because I am a box hoarder and now I have a use for it. We're gonna need a bigger box. Again, I'm a hoarder, so of course I have another one. Bundled up and ready to go. Alrighty, what's another quick win that I can do? I'm already getting ahead of myself and started putting pens into the little drawer, mainly so that I could take it out of the plastic packaging so that I can throw the plastic packaging away. But one thing that I can get rid of is this guy, which used to be for holding note cards, but it's not really quite the vibe anymore, considering I have the availability of little drawers like this. So this guy's going out and this guy's going out. For everything else though, I'm considering a pick up and decide method. So rather than trying to be very sequential, I just grab something and decide whether I want to keep it. The pick up and decide method actually worked surprisingly well because effectively I just spent the time running my eyes over the stuff that I had, and anything that caught my eye as something that I could easily make a choice about, I'd pick that one up. This also meant going through things that had stuff in them. For instance, my sticker binder, any pencil cases that had stuff in them, any of those plastic drawers that I could pull things out of. But given the volume of stuff that I had on this desk, it did start to get a bit overwhelming. If I were to do this process again, I would probably also apply the idea of anything that I found that I knew I wanted to keep, I would take off the desk. So effectively removing things that I'd already made a decision about, whether they be positive and I'm keeping the item, or negative and I'm getting rid of it. We've got a good pile of stuff building in here, but I've kind of hit a bit of a, not so much a roadblock, but this has become overwhelming, so I'm gonna go do something easy again. I'm very much applying the path of least resistance to this project because if I get stuck, I will let it hold me in stuckness and then I won't make the progress that I need to because we want to get this project done. I will stay up all night if I have to. Okay, probably not. I need sleep, but anywho, you get the idea. The easy place that I've decided to take myself to is the sticker drawer though, because I think that I'm gonna get rid of a lot of this. A lot ends up being a little bit of an understatement. I don't use stickers. I don't know why I had as many stickers as I did, but because I don't use them, getting rid of the stickers was a bit more of an easy process. Well, easy in the sense that I knew that I didn't need to keep them, but not necessarily easy emotionally, but we'll get to that in a bit. So all of these are to go, which means we're definitely gonna need a bigger bucket. That's pretty much an entire drawer of space reclaimed though, and I don't really know how much I need these white label stickers, but I use them to fix mistakes. Maybe I should use these up before the rest of my roll. And then the Go Wild sticker books I'm hoping to use in my Go Wild planner, so that's why I'm keeping them. But you guys are off to a new home somewhere. Another thing I should probably look into is all of the bits and pieces that are in here, because I've got contact cards, but then I've also got other bits and pieces that can probably get taken out. While for sorting out the sticker drawer, it was very much just sorting into keeping versus not keeping. In going through this box, because there were more individual items, I sorted it initially into 3 piles. So definitely keeping, definitely going, and needs further consideration. Most of the needs further consideration pile did end up going into the definitely going pile, but there were some elements that I decided to keep. More so ones that I thought I would immediately use by sticking them into a journal that I have. Effectively, with decluttering this box and my other sticker drawer, I've kind of quit stickering cold turkey. As I said, I don't really use stickers, so this isn't much of a problem, but that doesn't mean that getting rid of them doesn't hurt. One of the things that I do to make the hurt a little bit less though, is making sure that they go to good homes. So donating it to people who are actually going to use it, or selling it on to people who, again, are actually going to make use of them. I like to think of it as weighing one hurt up against another. So we have the hurt of getting rid of them, but then comparing this with the hurt of keeping them and then not using them. And then every time I open a drawer and see them there, getting that little reminder that I'm not using things that I have in my collection. If I let them go, then I won't have that. To keep, to throw away, and to donate. Given that I was already working in these drawers, I figured it was a good opportunity to have a look through my papers drawer. Now, if you're like me, I have a tendency to save every scrap of paper, which can be kind of problematic because sometimes those scraps really aren't very usable, whether that be because of the size, or the shape, or whatever else. That's particularly true for any of my journal offcuts, especially in the 160 GSM notebooks, because I feel like I can't waste, quote, waste any of that paper. These ones that we're doing here though are more like scrapbooking papers. I did not end up decluttering my dot grid offcuts, but scrapbooking papers was certainly something I looked at. As I'm going through each of the paper packs, what I'm trying to be very mindful of is the cheerleader effect, or the group attractiveness effect, where things appear more attractive because they're in a set. And this is very true for these paper packs, because for the most part all of them are kind of matchy-matchy. That increases the overall aesthetic of them. But if I consider the papers individually, do I still like them? Will I actually use them? I already know I have a problem with paper offcuts, but there has to be a better way to store these. Not a huge amount gotten rid of from this drawer, but you know, progress is still progress. Every little bit is helping me get towards a more clutter-free office. And literally just considering I'm on this level right now, I'm gonna do this shelf of the art cart. Now I know I do use the little spray bottles, they probably don't need to be in that container. What I don't use so much, or would like to get at least a better version of, are these alphabet stamps. I want those ones that kind of click together, so it's a good enough excuse to get rid of these ones. This jar is something that I use for water when I'm doing metallic watercolor, as you can probably tell by the metallic ring of paint in the bottom. But I'd like to be a little bit more intentional and actually get something specifically designed to be a water jar, or something that's a little nicer. This actually has a needle sitting in it. I don't know why, but it does. Dangerous. Put due back. The Distress Oxide inks I'm keeping because I do occasionally use those and really enjoy when I do. But these journaling prompt cards, I think I want to go through them and then maybe pull out any ideas that I like, and then I can probably gift them onto someone. How would your life be different if you let go of the hurts you are holding onto? It's a good question. Moving up a level though, we have all of my pencils, which I should probably go through and see which ones I want to keep because I don't use anywhere near enough pencils to keep all of these. These are the pencils I'm letting go of, so they will probably go into the bin. I don't know, you can't recycle pencils. Like, they're wooden, right? But they're not paper. Yeah. I don't think pencils are the kind of things you gift to people. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure that out. We have my metallic watercolors, which I love and I absolutely will not get rid of, so you can just go straight back. And then in here, we have a watercolor paint tray. These are my only watercolor paints and I'm pretty sure they're a fairly good brand, so I'm gonna keep those for the very, very rare occasions where I do watercolor. It's one of those things that it's small enough that I'm sure I can find some space for it to have an official home that isn't on the art card, because the art card is for things I use regularly and these paints I do not. With those new additions to the destash pile, it was time for a little bit of an organize. In order to make it so that the destashed items were manageable to deal with in terms of figuring out what's getting donated, what's getting sold, all of that kind of thing, I just needed the fucking bucket to be a little bit more organized. Keeping them all together was also important so that they didn't get confused between the stuff that I wanted to keep, because I wouldn't want to confuse it for something I was keeping and then try and make space for it in my office organization when it's actually something that should be going away. I actually just remembered I have this whole other box of stuff that needs to get put into the declutter bin as well, so that needs to go into the fucking bucket. While this stationery declutter that we're doing is part of my end of year reset process, I do also declutter things throughout the year, and that's what this bucket that we're dealing with here is. I like to have a designated place to put all of those decluttered items, just so if I come across any throughout the year that I want to get rid of at some point, I can put them in there and kind of batch dealing with them. That way I can make any kind of stationery giveaways a little bit more worthwhile, or if I'm listing things to sell, I can do them all at once. That's the nice part about this decluttering process. You don't actually have to do it all at once like I'm doing in this video. I just wanted to do a big, thorough job. The ones that I'm decluttering here though are a set of one-off or smaller collections of pens that I've gotten from various places, whether that be Go Wild or stationery hauls, that kind of thing. But given the size of this stationery declutter, I decided to call it a night after this point and came back in the morning. Of course, whenever I'm trying to declutter, I get more packages, so yay, more stationery, but that's a future me problem. We still have things to sort out. While there's still plenty to be dealt with both on the table and in the drawers, I do at least have 2 buckets full, or maybe 3 if you include, 1, 2, 3 buckets full of stuff that I can possibly offload to my friends. That's the nice part about slowly converting your friends to the hobbies that you like to do. When you get rid of supplies that you don't want anymore, they might want them. One thing that I think would be good to do before they get here though is the washi tape, because that's something that they might actually be interested in. And I think I'm gonna tackle these drawer by drawer. Oh, I don't even know. The problem is that I love my washi tapes, but I don't need or use all of them. So for the washi tape decluttering, because there is not enough space left in this one, we have a new fucking bucket out. But effectively, all this process involves is going through both of my drawers of washi tape, along with all of the other ones that were sitting on top of the set of drawers, and considering them individually, do I want to keep this? I'm asking myself questions like, does this stick well? Is it a pattern or design that I actually like? If it's one that I don't necessarily like, but I can think of a very specific use for it, I may keep it, but otherwise it's going into the bucket. The ones in particular that I find the hardest to get rid of are the ones from the washi tape shop, because they are beautiful tapes, lovely quality, but not all of them are my kind of design or aesthetic. You'll see in the back that Rachel was also looking through my stickers, because the next step is going to be destashing my stuff onto my friends, nicely, but we'll get to that in a second. So from those ones we have the definitely going, the maybe going, and the going to be kept, of which we have at least 2 drawers. Now I just need to make some choices about whether these are getting kept or going away. And I think that for every PET tape that I have in this collection, of which I have quite a few, I kind of want to cut them up so that they store better, because this one's got quite a lot on it, but it's going to store a lot better if it's flat packed rather than on a roll. For instance, this one has like some, but look at how much space that takes up. If I put it in a flat pack, it would take up hardly any space at all. After much deliberation, these are the ones that are going to be joining their friends in the pocket bucket. These ones are getting kept for now, and these ones have survived the culling. Now I just need to sort out these drawers. Well, I say now. It's not happening now. We still need to declutter. Now we just need to take all of this stuff downstairs, so hopefully the Boudreaux Wednesday fam can take the majority of it off my hands. Not that we want them to take things that they don't need, because you shouldn't off-haul your clutter onto other people, alright? It's only if they want it, so hopefully they want it. Technically all these tapes can be decluttered as well, so I might take them downstairs. These are the ones that I usually just use to like mask my page, keep it protected from my pen. But there are some designs in here that people might be interested in, so we'll take that down too. After piling all of the goods up on the table though, then the declutter frenzy was on. My friends did a great job of looking through all of the items and considering which ones would actually be valuable to them. I did tell them there was no pressure to take the stuff, but then also lightly encouraged them to take more. In terms of this, I pretty much just gave everything away to them for free, except for the sticker books, because those ones were the painful ones. While I had purchased them for roughly like 20 to 25 New Zealand dollars, I sold them on to them for roughly 4, because some of the stickers had been used, they are technically secondhand, but given the amount of stickers still in the sticker books, I hope they feel that it was still a good deal. It was also quite nice because each of my friends does have kind of a different style. Scotty's more getting started with his bullet journaling journey and the supplies, whereas Rachel has kind of stepped away from bullet journaling, so she's going to be organising in a pre-printed planner next year, so I'm also thinking about things she might use to decorate those layouts. And Monica is a sticker fiend, but more specifically stickers that kind of come in themed packs where the kind of aesthetic is very cohesive. She's not so much a fan of washi tapes, but given that, it was kind of cool to see what pieces got taken by which people. Very glad to see that somebody has been productive. While my friends did help by taking a bunch of stuff off my hands, you can see I still have plenty of stuff left over, but that's okay. That is going to be something that I can hopefully destash on either a crafting group or a community group. I know that there is, for instance, a school in this area and a primary school not too far away, so I'm sure some kiddies would love some stickers. Letting go of these sticker books in particular is really upsetting because I know how much I paid for those. That's not cheap. I've been keeping a running total of how much all of this stuff is worth, and we will look at that at the end, but still more to be done. For now though, I'm going through all of the tapes that I decided to keep and pulling out all the PET ones in particular. These are the ones that have individual designs on them that you kind of cut out like they're stickers. So given the fact that I'm going to cut them out eventually anyway, I thought it might be good to cut them out ahead of time. That way I don't have to store them on the roll, I can store them in flat packs. By flat packs, this is what I mean, so they're just in little bags where I've cut up individual pieces from the tape, and this flat pack is so much nicer to store them compared to an actual roll because my rolls don't fit. There are significantly better ways that I could have worded that, but anyway. While I'm going through and pulling out those PET tapes, I'm also doing a little light organisation in the drawer, more so just putting all of the tapes in the same orientation so that they fit in nicely. And it turns out that when I take the PET tapes out, I still have more space for more washi. Not that I have any direct intention to go and fill that space, but I didn't want the tapes to roll around in the drawer, so I tried a couple solutions, and in the end decided to pull over those sticker books that we had from the other drawer, and they can stop the tapes from rolling around. The PET tape, on the other hand, has been unceremoniously dumped on the floor. I have a lot more PET tapes than I thought I did. Not mad about it. Love the PET tapes, but I think it's just going to be so nice having them flat packed. The storage is going to open up so much, and it's also going to be easier when I go to use them. So we'll batch that task, get them all cut up, flat packed, stored nicely. These are my remaining sticker packs though, the ones that are like 2 sheets per pack rather than the sticker books, and I think all of these are going to go on the Archer and Olive trade group because I think those people in particular are going to be the ones who will want them. And of course that process was a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be, so we've already got the stickers accounted for to somebody. We are shipping them off in this box from Linda Tong Planners, which means I'm going to need to find a new home for this, but I mean it's a 2023 planner, so I kind of already needed to anyway. I've just spent the last 40 minutes trying to get the shipping on this package to work, and I could not figure out why it wouldn't accept the address. I tried every dang combination that I could think of to get this package to this person, and then it turns out that I was putting my address in wrong. But that's okay, it is actually being shipped. We're gonna ignore the fact that I undercharged for the stickers, I undercharged for the shipping, then I miscalculated the shipping and it was actually more expensive than I thought it was gonna be. So am I getting very much for these stickers? No, but that's okay, because really I just want them gone. Since having my friends take my tapes though, these are the ones that are left, and then these are the ones that I'm going to keep just because they're good for masking the page, sectioning off areas, getting those crisp boxes of colour, but all of the rest of these ones can go. That meant jumping back onto Facebook to find some community groups or some crafting groups that might want this. This stash in particular and a bunch of other items ended up going to a family that lives near me. Despite now having found a home for all the tapes to go to, I keep finding random tapes all over my office. Then I needed to have a closer look at the little drawers that I typically keep on my desk. These are the ones that sit underneath my monitor risers, mainly so that the items in them would be super accessible, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're all things that I actually use. To start off with, I went through my post-it note / paper drawer, which also has some corner rounders, which I was certainly keeping. I didn't end up getting rid of a lot from that one, but it was still good to look through it. After this, I wanted to have a look at my adhesives drawer and make sure that the things that were in there were actually all adhesives. Over time, it had collected a couple of other bits and pieces, which didn't really have a home elsewhere in my office. By going through it though, I could remove those pieces and put them where they better belong. Then it was time to tackle my assorted ephemera. So this includes not just scrapbooking pages, which I'm looking at here, but also a bunch of other little paper pieces, some stickers, and a bunch of other random things. This is another instance where that group attractiveness effect can kick in, so I wanted to make sure to go through each of the pieces individually, taking them out of their packaging, having a proper look at them, to make sure that the things I was keeping were actually things that I want to keep. Along with going through and asking things like, do I actually like this design? Do I think that I'll use it in some capacity? I'm also asking, is this good quality? Because a lot of these items came from cheaper stationery stores, and that's not to say that they're not good quality, it's just that some of them the printing isn't quite as good, or it might look a little pixelated in places. And I'm also thinking about ease of use. So for instance, the majority of these pieces are for kind of collaging, scrapbooky kind of layouts, but will I actually be bothered to go back through them to find the pages that are going to suit any project? I certainly got better at determining that as I went through, so once I'd come to the end of sorting them out, I actually went back through some of the items I'd initially said I was going to be keeping and reconsidered whether I actually wanted to keep them. In the end, a good chunk of those I actually ended up deciding not to keep. And this is something that I found very common anytime I'm decluttering, is that I kind of get more ruthless as I go through. So sometimes going back to the things I initially decluttered and kind of re-examining them, thinking over them again, I do end up getting rid of more than I would have initially. Another thing that I tend to consider, especially given I do this decluttering process on a kind of semi-regular basis, is have I actually reached for this item since the last time I decluttered? Depending on how long it is you're going between your decluttering sessions, it can be a pretty good indicator as to whether you are or aren't using something. So for instance, if I do another stationery declutter around the same time next year, are there any items in my stash that I haven't thought to use, haven't been inclined to use, and then maybe those are the items that I end up finding new homes for. This paper pad in particular, I decided to get rid of entirely because something had gone wrong with the adhesive on it, so all of the pages are kind of stuck together. But this stage of the decluttering I was actually really pleased with my progress on. I got rid of a lot more than I had initially anticipated, and I've really only left the things that I'm more likely to use. You might have seen as I was going through, I was getting a little bit more ruthless with these paper pieces, because as much as I love collaging, I don't like having to look through all of these to find things that actually match. So I would much rather just buy things that were all in the same kind of colorway and then use those together rather than trying to sort through all of these. Also the ones that made it in here before I started realizing that maybe I shouldn't just chuck a bunch of loose paper into the bucket. But considering this guy was pretty much full and now we're on one drawer that's pretty much full and then some other items which I might organize into here, that's not too bad. I don't know if I necessarily actually want to organize them in the little drawers anymore, but I've got that option. One issue that I didn't necessarily foresee when I went into this decluttering process was what about all the supplies that I've kept out because they're part of a set project. The majority of the ones I have here were for my reading journal setup, and I've been keeping them out just in case I wanted to make any other pages. But that means I've got a bunch of washi tapes, a bunch of papers, stickers, and other stuff that was just sitting in this box. Thankfully, having used them in a recent project, I know that the majority of them I am keeping, but there were also a couple of other eclectic bits and pieces that were being stored with it that were going away. Thankfully though, by this point, I have a pretty good idea of what my criteria are for keeping versus not keeping things, so getting through it didn't take too long. Despite the fact that it still looks like we have a lot, this is actually a fairly decent amount of progress. For instance, I know I'm going to be keeping my pen sets because I love them and I'm a completionist and I have the full sets. I really just need to decide how I want to organize them because having them in these little drawers as it is isn't really working. But we're not so much here to organize, we are here to declutter. There are a couple of things that I think are still going to have to go out. So it was time for a final sweep of the office, in the cupboards and drawers in particular, because everything that had been pulled out onto the desk had been pretty well dealt with. One item in particular that I've been holding on to for way too long are these Tombos, and even though I knew in my soul that they were dried up, it took a lot of effort to actually throw them away. This is pretty much the full set of what's coming out of my office though. That's minus the stuff that my friends took the other day though, so we have to keep that in mind. And I foolishly calculated the price of not everything, but a good majority of what I'm getting rid of. That's $2,600 US. But hey, it's going to a happier home, someone who will love it more than me, somebody who will use it, so at least there's that. Along with all the acrylographs and the stickers and the washi tapes, we also have an eclectic bunch of other things, whether they be crafty bits or otherwise. But one of the areas I didn't really declutter in were pencil cases, and that's because I have a little bit of a weakness for pencil cases, and I also need to figure out how I'm going to store all of my pens. Actually, organizing them all and putting them away is a project for another day, but if you enjoy decluttering and want to see more, then the playlist at the top is worth checking out. In that one we have all of our previous decluttering videos, so click or tap on that one and I'll see you over there.
Oh, what's this? Oh, what's this?
Oh my god, it's turned into Nightmare for Christmas. I love it.
What is this?
Face of the pal.
That's actually really cute.
Oh, that is cute.
It comes with a matching tote bag.